Welcome, everybody. I'm joined by Andy once again, and we're here to talk about the ways to get your friends, family, baby, child, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, interested in your hobbies and get them playing the games that you also love. Andy and I both have kids. I have a
Yeah.
baby, so it's much harder. I can really make her do anything, but I want to put the seeds down so I can enjoy playing the things I enjoy with the baby, and also so she can appreciate my collection someday. But Andy, what do you think? How are you going to do this?
Yeah, I'm very much in the same boat. My son's gonna be 6 soon, so he's kind of getting to that age where like he could play a game, kind of. And yeah, he could inherit my collection. It'd probably just end up in the dumpster, to be honest. But anyway, how I would do it, I think, I actually went through this process recently. The first thing I did was my son. He likes Disney stuff, like classic Disney stuff. So I looked to Lorcana. I built two 60 card decks, all commons, 1 cent each off TCG player type stuff, and I built it into basically pre-constructed decks, and they had 56 characters each and 4 spells. And I just told him that the spells were removal spells and that he could just play it and kill any character, right? So I think the first thing that I would look at would just be being able to have a deck or some whatever the game is that you're trying to do, like readily accessible and able to be played. So much of my collection is just in binders and boxes that you can't actually do anything with it.
I think that's absolutely correct. I think having those pre-made intro decks and even like something that has the first kind of 5 turns sketched out,
Mm.
like just make it easy because you get into play cycles, you get into rhythms, and they start to understand like, oh, this is a good interaction, or I'm starting to understand the word interaction is used. And so just like making it as simple as possible to go from you're at the kitchen table hanging out to 5 minutes later we have the game set up, a very very basic version of it, and we're like ready to go and start enjoying time together. So that's the first one I have. Like, have the tools or decks ready to go. The next one I had on my list is removing barriers to entry, right? And that can be rules that are complex. That can be like cost considerations. Like, yeah, don't break out your like $2,000 CDH deck to like, no, like you don't need to. Also, like, don't talk about how much money you spent on this stuff. That doesn't like turn people on to something where it's like, this deck, this is a $50 card right here. Like no one cares if they're just getting into it. They're like, I just want to like have a good time. I don't care about your obsessive collecting
Right.
hobby.
Yeah, I think, if we look again, going back to the idea of getting two 60 card Lorcana decks that were all basically classic Disney characters that my son was familiar with, I think in total it costs like $7 shipped off of TCG Player from like one seller. And fine, whatever, like who cares? They're all penny cards. I didn't really care what any of the cards did other than what the picture on the card was. It's almost like buying a bottle of wine, right? Like you just buy it by the label. It's actually not how you do it, but we'll go there. And so I'm just buying whatever the picture is, and just any card text. Just we didn't even read it, use it, whatever. It was just this is what how much it costs to deploy this character. This is their power. This is their defense, and you can tap it to gain. I just said gain life, right? Even though so I didn't use like any technical terminology. Didn't care what any of the card text says. He couldn't. He's only learning to read. Way too complicated to even just explain what any keyword does. Like, don't even go there.
I 100% agree. And this is actually dovetails nice into the third thing on my list, which is find the angle or IP that appeals to whoever you're, whether it's a friend, whatever, foe, child, spouse, whatever. Like, if they're really into The Mandalorian, right? Then, like, build some Star Wars unlimited decks on the cheap that are more Mandalorian flavored. They're going to see their favorite characters. Lorcana is a really great grab bag, right? Like you can probably find whatever cheap frozen characters, right, from that universe, or something of that kind of flavor that's going to kind of like, oh, this is really cool. Or even with like something like Magic, right? All the expanded universe stuff aside, just like find kind of a cool angle to get into that stuff. They really like goblins, or they really like the Bloomborough.
Figures. You just play Bloomborough, right?
Yeah, like Bloomborough is really great for this. Like you like cats, you build a cat deck, or like dogs, or whatever. So just like find that angle that's going to appeal to them, and to give them that good feels. Because like it's all about getting those reps in early on. Like if you just play something one time, you're gonna forget it, and you're like, oh yeah, I played that like 2 years. I don't remember it. It's about getting like the positive experience, the positive play experience as much as possible. And that also means don't be super competitive with your 7-year-old. it's
I've lost every single game. He wins them all.
He's got a very powerful child.
But he's at he's at that age where like he wants to win, right? And clearly I could just outplay him by not even having to think about it. But that doesn't do me any good. If he just loses 3 times in a row, he'll never play again. So I just always lose. I'll sit there with a hand. That meme of the like guy playing Uno and he's got like 40 cards in his hand. It's like draw plus 21. I'll have like a hand of like 12 cards because like I can't play any of these.
It's all about creating the positive play experiences early on. And that actually is number 4 on my list, which is party games are a really great Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Getting people into things like Uno, or the number of people I know that got into board games because of Settlers of Catan. And I know that's like kind of a party game, it's not really, but it's like finding these entry drugs almost. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, interesting. Every game is kind of the same about resource management, but I didn't know the term resource management existed, but Uno taught me that. Or I don't know, whatever the Austin Powers game. I think of like the other.
We don't do Austin Powers.
We do Austin Powers.
But I think when I lived not where I'm at now, when I was out on the West Coast, we didn't really know too many people. So my wife and I would just have like, quiet time at homes before having a kid. And we would just like, I had a game Guillotine, which was a game that Richard Garfield put out.
It's a great game.
Yeah, it's got like kind of humorous looking characters, and you're just like doing this. You're just trying to collect heads from the French Revolution and like rearranging the line of people. It was a lot of fun. And my wife had a great time playing it, and we'll still break it out every once in a while and play it. And she is like absolutely not a gamer or anywhere close to playing games, but like it's something that she enjoys. So, having those kind of games that aren't like overly complex, that are easy to play in 15 minutes and you're done, and you can be like, oh, that was fun. We'll play it again in 3 weeks. That's what we're looking for.
I think it's just almost about establishing, whether it's friends or family, but like an activity that is possible to do when you're hanging out is to play a game. That's something, and like for so many friend groups, it's like, oh, we're going to turn the TV, or it's like, oh, we're going to watch TV. It's like, well, we could also just sit at the table and do this thing that we all enjoyed doing
right
2 weeks ago. So this brings me to the last one on my list, which is just normalize your local game store or your local hobby shop, whatever it is. Just normalize that as a place to go. And it's not like something like when you're walking by, they look like, oh, we never go in that puzzle shop because it's lame or whatever. But what you realize when you go into these places, there's something that's going to appeal to everyone, and it maybe never appealed to you because you're like, why would I have cared about the multicolored dice selection? But like suddenly your child is like obsessed with the big bucket of dice, and they love going there because there's that big bucket of dice. You can go like this with your hands.
Sure.
And like, that's just a little hook, but like getting these positive relations and positive experiences is so important because that builds that like lifelong buddy that's eventually going to inherit your collection.
Yeah, I think like thinking about all the other things that we just talked about, where you have pre-constructed decks and you introduce them to a party game and you reduce the entry barriers to entry, et cetera, et cetera. Like once you've kind of done all that and you want to actually, maybe down the road take them to a tournament, right? I was at the Star Wars Unlimited pre-release recently for the third set, and there was a dad there with his two kids, and I was like, that'd be pretty cool to be able to take my son when he's 8 years old or whatever to a pre-release, and he's going to lose every game, but we could enjoy it and be something we could do together. But the first time to go into a game store should not be for a tournament. It should be for like, hey, let's go in here and you can buy a deck box for your pre-constructed deck that I gave you that cost me $3 to build, or buy dice in the big dice thing. Like I know your local game store, Matt, has like a big Lego selection, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the kid's just really into Legos, so it's like rather than go to the Lego store at a mall, which I don't want to be in, we go to the game store and you can look at the Legos and hey, by the way, let's take a look at this stuff. So I think you just have to find ways to like go to the game store, but not actually go to the game store to do gaming initially. And that should like eventually lead down a path to do that.
And I think it's really important to keep in mind with all of this stuff that gaming is just another way of interacting with people. It's another way of communicating. It's another way of not having to have something to talk about, but you're spending time together. And there's something really wonderful about having sometimes that buffer and also that common ground where you can say, like, oh, we both did this deck, or, we're both into the same hobby. It's just, can really bring people together, and that's something wonderful. So I sincerely hope you guys can all, what's the right word I'm looking for? Not trick, incept. much like that movie Inception, you have to get into their dreams. That's actually the bonus one. You just have to do the dream thing.
Yeah, sounds good. The thumbnail for this is just that little top that Leonardo DiCaprio has. Anyway, let us know your thoughts on things that you've done that have been successful in getting people, loved ones, family members, significant others, etc., into playing a game or continuing to play multiple games. Explore that. We'd love to hear it in the comments. And as always, like and subscribe. I got it in for you, man.
All right. We're going to wrap up there. Nice tight 13 minutes. I'll see you guys later.
Have a good one.